Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. If you're joining us live, go ahead and comment live. If you're joining us on the replay, go ahead and comment replay. We are joined here by Linda Davis from Music Duo. We're joined by Elizabeth Green from My Speech and Debate Coach and Ingrid Motes from Tampa Bay Test Prep. And I'm sorry, Linda, it's Linda McCarty now. I just saw that update there. So we are going to be talking about tips for adding extracurriculars to your homeschool. I know this is something a lot of people are working on, adding just those core subjects, but they want to make homeschool fun and they want to add some additional subjects to really make their homeschool experience something that kids look back on and are just like, oh my gosh, I got to go do so many fun things. But we're also super busy. So how do we do it? How do we do it effectively? How do we do it so that it's fun and that it works best for kids? So we're going to be hearing from everyone, just a little bit from everyone, on how to be able to add extracurriculars to your homeschool. So Linda, if you would like to go first, since you joined first.
All right. Thank you. Yes, I got married a year ago. So my videos, I say, hi, I'm Miss Davis, but I'm Linda McCarty now. So I've been teaching music for over 25 years. And so I have to say, I don't consider music extracurricular or even art or PE. I don't know if you've heard, I get a little annoyed when I see programs that talk about STEM. Okay. And I'm like, no, it's STEAM. You have to add the A. So for those of you that haven't heard, that's science, technology, engineering, art, and math. So, but I realize that a lot of people consider them extracurricular. But that's just the point of view I'm coming from. Because they're not just enrichment. I mean, think of a sports team. Are you just giving them exercise? Or are they learning how to work as a group? Are they working to have a common goal, make each other better? You know, that's yes, the exercise is good for their health, but at the same time, they're learning all these other valuable things. Art, you know, they're just not learning how to draw one picture or do one craft. They're actually learning like the color wheel and, you know, how, I mean, I don't know about you, but I had not much art. And I would put my eyes, you know, at the top of the circle and wonder why my faces always looked funny. It was watching my own kids went, oh, the eyes are a lot lower, you know, they and proportions and all that stuff so that they can do other things later, not just draw that one project. And then of course, music is my wheelhouse. A lot of people who are musicians are good at math. I mean, you've got patterns, you've got meters. Oh, this is in 2 meter, 3 meter. And then all the notes. Oh, there's division in math. And then, of course, I put all the words of the songs in my videos. So they're reading. And so, I mean, I had this little first grader, Alejandro. He was a little pistol in class. But he went up to my board where the video was playing and pointed to the words. And I'm like, oh, that's amazing. He's reading while doing music. So they're just, and then expression. I mean, some kids are real shy. And how can you know, get them to express themselves? You know, they may not want to ever be an orator. They're not going to speak in front of people. But if they can paint or create or through music, you know, any of those, even through sports, you can express yourself by, you know, finding the sport that you love. And so that's that's why I think that it's so important, because there's so many valuable things in there. Um, I think when you think extracurricular, you need to think, is this your wheelhouse? Because if you want to do an art activity, what's the purpose? Is it just fun? Is it a seasonal activity? There's nothing wrong with fun, okay? That just brings, pleasure to your day. And but you know what? You can also have fun and purpose at the same time. So that's think about, like, anytime we had to do lesson plans, we had to put objectives. It would drive myself crazy when I was teaching, my kids were in high school, and the teacher would just play a random movie that had nothing to do with their subject because the other classes were behind. And I'm like, you can play a movie, but can't you do it with something that pertains to whatever they've been learning, or play a game that pertains to what they're learning, not just stop learning, go do something totally random just so that the teacher can keep everybody even. So that was something that kind of bugged me. So, if I would show a clip of Rigoletto, it was because I was showing an excerpt of the piece of work that this composer did. So, and they loved it. They would go around the school singing, oh, do, 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 do. And then, so that's the thing I think is important. What objective do you want in your extracurricular? Now, I've got a link here that I want to put in the thing. I've got a little sorry, it's a PDF on, how do I put it in the regular chat? Or can I put it in the regular chat? Maybe I'll put it in the private chat. This is top 10 ways.
Yeah, and I'll share it for you.
How to include music in your homeschool. And it's like 10 different ways that you can, how to include it. I was just in England last month. My mom paid for all of us to have an expense-free trip. And we have relatives there. And the relatives, his grandmother and my grandfather were siblings, and they sang in choirs. And the wife, she was saying, we really love singing in choirs, but neither of us read music. So she goes, for me, it was easy because I could follow the melody. But she goes, my husband really struggled because he just had to figure it out. And I think when you do these extracurricular activities, if you do them with the purpose of, I really want to give them foundational skills so that if they choose later in life to continue, they can. It's not just a one and done project. You're actually giving them the skills that they can, continue on. So, there's lots of things on YouTube. I have my own YouTube channel. I have 20 ways to teach beat and rhythm and the little ones. And so you can do that, but just make sure that you feel like you know what you're doing. Because I think sometimes if you do scatter shooting, I think the child might be more confused than in the beginning. And so, why are you teaching loud and soft, or why are you teaching, the colors or whatever, what more can you add to it? And then don't feel bad if you have to farm that out to somebody else who's more of an expert than you. Look at Wayne Gretzky. The greatest hockey player of all. And I'm not here to throw him under the bus, but maybe I am. When he coached the team, he didn't coach that. His team didn't perform that well. And I think he just knew it all, but maybe he didn't know how to teach it to them. And so you might have a great musician, but if they don't know the best way to teach, then it's like, we can appreciate your talent, but we might not be able to, copy you. So anyways, when you look for an extracurricular activity, or in my opinion, a core subject of art or music, something, look for somebody who you feel knows how to teach it so that you can, send that to your children. So look for quality. That's and unfortunately quality is free. So unfortunately, you're probably expected to pay. So I've just seen how many ways it can help children. I had an autistic child join my drum club, and it was his favorite activity for the week. It was like his little place to belong. And if in the beginning he could not keep a steady beat, he was just off the whole time. And it took him 3 or 4 months before he could finally keep a steady beat. But his face was beaming every time he came in to the room, and it just, I don't know, it music can do so much, all of them. So we've got Music Duo to our program. It's I've spent so many months using my experience to make it sequenced so that you don't have to figure out what order to teach things are. And it's so much more affordable than private lessons. I took piano. My mom had me take piano lessons when I was 5 and I did it till 10 and I quit because I hated practicing because I'd make myself play something 10 times in a row perfectly. And nobody ever told me maybe that's not a good goal to have. It will drive you nuts. But anyway, so we have a program that teaches how to read and write music through singing folk songs and playing percussion instruments. So we have a 2-week trial. If you're ever interested in that, give it a shot, or go to our YouTube channel, Splendor Productions, and see what we've got there for you. Got an excellent, fun Halloween activity. And I did it with my 4-year-old last week, and he's like, again. So
Thank
there's
you
your
so much,
seasonal
Linda.
fun. Yeah. So thank you.
So, Elizabeth, I'd love to hear from you on your tips for adding extracurriculars.
Yeah, so I just want to reinforce what Linda said, is that a lot of these things should be a big focus in our education process, not just looked at as extracurriculars. And I know there's a huge misconception when it comes to homeschoolers not having opportunities to build social skills. It's a common misconception we hear. My husband's a public school teacher. My own kids go to public school. And the homeschoolers that I work with oftentimes have a lot better social skills than kids that go to public school. They do have more opportunities, it seems like, in a lot of ways. And I think even though they're having opportunities for social skills, one thing that I think it's important for people to remember is social skills are not quite the same as public speaking. And obviously you can tell from my speech and debate coach, we teach public speaking. And I think another misconception is that debate and public speaking is not necessarily something that we really need to put a lot of focus on with our kids. I'm seeing that shift in parents' understanding of the importance of it. But I just wanted to give a special shout out for exploring those extracurriculars with your kids. And a very astounding fact to me is that the number one fear for most adults is public speaking. Most adults are more afraid of public speaking than death. Crazy. That's a crazy statistic, right? And we all know, we work with kids. We know kids and teens can absorb information and grow and learn so much faster than we can as adults. So I think it's imperative that we give our kids the opportunity to face that fear head on, either to overcome it or before it even becomes one. For a lot of kids, they don't have that fear, but it can develop over time. And so if you're looking at extracurriculars, like Linda said, think about that these activities that we're signing them up for, whether we're teaching them personally or signing them up for classes for somebody else to teach them, it's not just the one and done. Like if I'm teaching debate, somebody's not just learning how to debate, they're learning critical thinking, they're learning logic, they're learning communication skills, and most importantly, they're learning confidence. And so look around the outside of what the topic is and realize that whatever they are learning from whatever extracurricular can oftentimes be applied to different parts of their life. And I always have to tell the story. I was extremely, extremely shy as a kid. I mean, the idea, I didn't want to talk to anybody that I didn't know very closely. And the idea of having to stand up and give a speech in class was terrifying to me. But you know what? I had to do it. And in life, we have to do those things at some time, at points, whether it's interviewing for a job or giving a presentation to your coworkers or whatever. But thankfully, I had that one teacher when I had to take the class that made all the difference for me. And even though I always say, I don't even remember what my speech was about, but I remember how I felt. before I had to do it, and was so nervous and so feeling sick to my stomach. Went out there, and that teacher saw real potential in me, and she encouraged me to ultimately join the speech team, where I competed and won scholarships. I went on to become a broadcast news reporter, where I spoke to 100,000 people every day as part of my job. And all of that boils down to that one experience that I did not want to do. And so I think my big tip is, like Linda said, look at extracurriculars outside of just the core things they're going to learn in class. They're going to learn so much more that applies to different parts of life. But even if your child is not interested or is afraid of doing it, don't use that as an out to avoid it. I would have never, if I didn't have to give that speech in class, who knows what I would be doing today. I would probably still be a very shy individual. And now my life's goals are to teach public speaking and confidence and communication skills to kids. So even if your child's like, no, I really don't want to do that, I don't want to try it, sometimes we have to push them outside of their comfort zones. And even if they don't ever love it, they're still going to benefit from it. And another thing Linda said, even if they don't go on and do it competitively, or it's not a huge part of their your education or whatever they do in the future, they're going to benefit from it. But with communications, it is going to benefit them in any way, every way in their future. So don't just leave it up to the kids. We want kid choice. We want them, of course, to be interested in what they're doing. But the last thing I would say is that we've taught over 10,000 students, and most of those students come into our class and that would not be their first choice for a class. But they walk out of the class, maybe it takes a couple times, but they end up walking out of the class excited to come back every time, because they just had to have that nudge to get out, get out of their comfort zone a little bit, to realize that they were very capable of doing it. And in many cases, they actually enjoyed doing it.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth, for sharing that with us. Tracy, would you like to go ahead and share your tips for adding extracurriculars?
Absolutely. Is it okay if I share my screen? Oh, maybe. Oh, I hope that's not me. There we go. Okay. So strange. All right. Let me know when you see this. Make sure that that's popping up good.
Yep, we can see it.
Sweet. Awesome. Okay. So hello, everybody. So I'm a little bit different than my wonderful counterparts that have went before me, because they're very specific on very specific areas of extracurriculars they do, which is awesome. And I love that, because I'm more high level on helping students find extracurricular options that exist out there. So it's always good to have those resources. So I want to talk a little bit more about just what extracurriculars mean in the homeschooling world, especially, and just kind of go through some of these things. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Tracy Baconhasser. I own Adulting University, and we work with homeschool teens from 7th through 12th grade. So let's talk about some of these benefits, because I think this is an area where so many people kind of overlook extracurriculars, because there's a lot of investment, right? Time investment, money investment. There's things that go into this, and it can be a lot sometimes, but there are so many wonderful benefits to getting your kiddos involved in extracurriculars. Skill development is a big one. We talked about the social growth, and yes, I agree. Homeschoolers tend to be a lot more socially mature than their public school counterparts in a lot of ways, but it's still that great place for them to build connection and find friends and people that are in similar spaces as them. It gives them opportunities to explore passions. And as a career coach, I love this reason of extracurriculars, because it's a great way for your student to try things out, to see if it's a good fit, if it's something they would maybe want to pursue as a career, or if it stays a hobby. And then it really also helps to balance a lifestyle. It's not always just heavy on academics and learning. It's also, there's fun and other pieces that go into this. So being able to help provide the overall well-being. So that extracurricular piece is so important. And there's multiple different ways to get involved, right? There's the art and music space, which I know we've had Linda on here on talking about some of the art areas and the music aspects. There's sports and athletics, which is what most people think of when they think of extracurriculars, like, oh yeah, playing football or basketball or softball. So many different options out there, because then there's also academic enrichment, which can be clubs and other organizations. We actually have 3 different clubs within our virtual co-op that kind of suffice to this, where we kind of help students get that hands-on approach and in a different way of getting that extracurricular involvement. So don't niche yourself down to, oh my gosh, well, we got to find a sports team. If your kid doesn't like sports, there's plenty of other options out there for them to get involved in and just explore different extracurricular options. So doesn't have to just be the traditional sports and athletics. There are so many different other areas. There's clubs, there's organizations they can join, there's courses that they can do that are very special interests. So lots of different ways to do that. So how can you incorporate this into your homeschool world? Number one, you have to first assess your kiddos' interests. Know what they're interested in. Sit down together and kind of look at what are we currently doing? Where are the gaps? How could we let you explore more of what you're interested in? And maybe that's supplementing with extracurriculars versus another class. So helping them kind of understand what they're interested in, what their passions are, what their strengths are. Then planning strategically, which is a lot, right? Especially for my overachiever homeschoolers who like to fill their schedule with all the things. And I totally understand that. But make sure you're leaving space for the fun and kind of that well-rounded student, not just all academics, right? Giving them options to do other things to fill their time, not just strictly like, oh my gosh, we got to take all the classes, right? You got to take all the college classes, all the things. Those are great. And there's also a lot of benefit into other areas there. But that balance is extremely important when we talk about bring extracurriculars in, because I know a lot of homeschoolers that are doing a lot of things and their kiddos are involved in a lot of things and very busy, which is awesome, but it still needs to be a balance. Because I've seen on the opposite side where students are so overly involved, they have no time for anything else. Their friends, their other areas, and they're also involved in like 20 different extracurriculars, which I don't recommend doing, honestly. I think finding one or two, maybe three that your students really invested in, really passionate about, and going all in on those. It's more about quality over quantity when it comes to extracurriculars, especially when you're looking at college or anything down the road, right? We do college coaching as well for students. And that's a big one. Extracurriculars are important, but colleges want to see the value over, oh, look, I did and checked all the boxes and look at all these things I was involved in. So making sure that you are balancing this with your academics as you go through this homeschooling journey. So how do you find the right one for your student? I will tell you right now, part of it is going to be trial and error. So some of it's just going to be, hey, we're going to try this, see if it fits. And if it does, great. If it doesn't, that's okay, right? There is benefit to saying, helping your student realize, this is not what I want. I know there's a struggle with this mentality sometimes of, well, we, committed to it. We need to stick it out. Absolutely, at least finish the term or the semester or the quarter or whatever it is. But you don't have to stick with it long term if your kid really hates it, right? If it is not for them, it is okay for them to stick it out till the end of the program for that moment and then say, okay, we're not doing this again. So having that aspect of things, exploring local resources. There's a lot of great things locally, whether it's a co-op or a club or anything like that. Depending on the state you're into, as a homeschooler, some states allow you to still participate in the public schools activities. So that's something worth looking at. I know I'm in Ohio and our schools are allowed to do that. My son is going to be allowed to try out for the high school sports teams and everything when he gets to that age, which is awesome. So, because he's doing club right now, which is great too, but it's nice to know that he has that option to go participate with the school's sports and activities as well. Look at accessibility. Is this something that's going to work for you? Think about transportation, cost, scheduling, is it a big time commitment? Are you able to afford it? Those are really important factors to go into. Looking at, do you want something in person? Do you want virtual? Our co-op is fully virtual. So that way students can be from anywhere in the world. Some places are very local and specific. So just knowing what you want there and just seeking that guidance, right? Work with your student through this process. Make sure that their input is very valued in this. It's perfectly okay to collaborate with them and give your thoughts and opinions. But at the end of the day, let it be your student's choice. If you have a more introverted kiddo, it's okay to challenge them a little bit and kind of challenge them to get a little bit uncomfortable, but start with something that is just a little uncomfortable, not from like doing nothing to extreme involvement that they're going to have a panic attack over. So being cautious of those things. And then we want to look at, what does this look like? So we talked about this. I don't know why it's on here twice. So, but managing your time, all the things, priorities are really big. but encouraging your students' participation. And this is especially important, again, for those introverted kiddos, which I work a lot with introverted students. And a lot of times they kind of like, they shut down. They don't want to put themselves out there in those areas. And this is where it can be really good for you as the parent to like get excited for them, help them out, be there with them, support them through that journey, give them that encouragement, help prepare them for that. Because it's a little scary, right? Just trying something new, stepping into a new space that they've never been in before, even for my extroverted kiddos. It's still a little bit new, right? Like the debate and the public speaking, right? That's terrifying for most people. I was a student in high school that hated it and I turned into such a tomato, but it's such an essential skill for students to do. And so sometimes there is that piece where we want to support and encourage and not push too hard, but sometimes we do need to push our kids, right? To try different things to get out of their comfort zone. When we get out of our comfort zone, we grow. Right? We develop, we learn skills that we wouldn't have learned otherwise. And so it's so important to help through that and then celebrate those achievements with them. Whether it's something tiny, like, oh my gosh, the fact you signed up for this debate class and you hate speaking to people, like, yes, like this is awesome. Celebrate that with them. Take them to get their favorite dessert or ice cream. Right? The little wins and the celebrations along the way keep your kiddos' engagement up, keeps their encouragement up so that they can continue participating, right? And then providing guidance and helping them when they do encounter those challenges. They come to you and they're like, I don't want to do this anymore. And you're like, okay. Well, wait a minute. Why? Like, let's talk about this and try to get to the root issue and help them learn to critical think and problem solve through that to stick with it. It's one thing if it's a truly toxic environment and it's not a good place for your kid. More times than not, though, there's just a challenge they're facing that they don't know how to overcome. And that's why they want to give up on the extracurricular. So giving them that space to help figure it out, give them tools and resources to overcome the challenge, because that's going to make them stronger in the long run, right? That's that aspect of, well, let's not just throw in the towel just because this one thing happened. Like, what can we do from this? What can we learn? Can we make it better? So giving them those opportunities. And then finally, just again, the whole point of these extracurriculars is to enrich your homeschooling experience, which I see a lot of homeschoolers doing, again, which is awesome. Some of them are involved in a lot of things. Some of them aren't involved as many things, and that's okay. It's finding the balance, what works for your family. But there are so many benefits to this, right? Building lasting memories for your children, for your family, being able to celebrate those accomplishments together. It gives another opportunity to celebrate with our kids and celebrate what they're doing and achieving, and really is discovering those passions, which I think is so important because so many students have no clue what they want to do after high school. And a lot of that is because they haven't spent the time exploring and finding out what they're good at, what they love to do, and then putting it all together. So again, a great way to really get our students to excel, to be able to try new things, is that aspect of involvement. And I know that Amelia dropped a link in the chat that we are providing to anybody who's watching right now. So this is our Get Involved guide. Normally it is a $14 guide. We're giving it away at no charge today for anybody who's watching this. It's a great resource that gives you opportunities like of where to get involved, what types of extracurriculars exist out there. It's just a really good resource to help you. Would love to talk to anybody who's interested in, participating in our co-op or any programs in that nature. But otherwise, it was great to get to be a part of this awesome panel today. I love talking about this topic because it's one that is so fun for students and is so important for their future too. So thank you guys.
Thank you for sharing, Tracy. I really appreciate that. As the kind of extroverted sibling of all of my siblings, one thing that I noticed that helped a lot is I was an extrovert. I like to just be able to be included. And then they could be able, anyone that was introverted that maybe was the one who was more interested in the particular extracurricular. I was able to kind of be their extrovert that was out front. And so they could still participate, but they didn't have to, they were able to have someone that went along with them. And so if you do have multiple siblings, one that's more extroverted, one that's more introverted, signing them both up for something, even if it's more something that the introvert one is interested in, you're still going to get that socialization that the extrovert craves. And it's going to be able, and especially if it was like, hey, Becca really wants to do this, but she's nervous. Can you go with her? And then I was like, yes, I can, you know what I mean? Like, I'll make sure that she makes friends. It can be able to be a really good sibling bonding experience. So, Ingrid, I would love to hear from you on your extracurricular tips.
So
we were homeschooling and we had a lot of fun doing lots of different extracurriculars. So I definitely want to agree with so many things that have been said. But one thing is that we started really early with trying different things, trying different classes, trying different extracurriculars from art to music to chess. We just tried everything just for maybe 1 or 2 classes, just to kind of get our son's experience out there, experience different things. And then as he got older, we would narrow it down to things he wanted to pursue career wise or things he wanted to experience. And we would spend more time on them. Instead of just doing maybe 1 class or 2 classes, we would start to do longer term classes. And the classes were really nice because then we could, I think, as people have been saying, outsource, right? We would just take it away from the homeschooling. We would focus on the core subjects and getting all those things together. But then we would just let somebody else lead with their expertise, whether we were doing online classes, we were doing videos, or we were actually, my son would go to some kind of activity or event like schools, or he went to so many different things. He even got to fly a glider. There was just so many really awesome experiences that he got to have, but we couldn't provide those to him. So by finding the resources out there with the experience in aviation and the experience in construction, with this experiences that with art that we could have them teach, then we could focus on things that we really felt the most comfortable teaching. And so one of the things we found that he really enjoyed was mathematics. And so we got him slowly involved into some math competition material. Now, while it wasn't necessarily his favorite thing to do, we found that it was the favorite thing of other students. And so we actually expanded our Tampa Bay test prep program to involve students who don't usually get this opportunity to enjoy mathematics in a different way than they might see in the curriculum, enjoy mathematics in a competition format with other students who really love mathematics. And I know from personal experience that it was life-changing for me. So I wanted to provide this experience for other people as well. So what goes on is an opportunity for students to try new problems. They learn increased critical thinking skills, problem-solving skills, logical reasoning skills. In fact, students who sometimes think that they're not good at math might actually enjoy these problems even more and get that extra excitement back for mathematics. So if your child needs a break from mathematics, but you still want to do some math, we actually have a lot of students who might come in and just do like 2 weeks. They'll come in, take a couple classes during like a break time, maybe 4 classes twice a week. And they're like, okay, I got a little bit of that feel of trying something new. And then they go back to their core curriculum. Or maybe you want to break during the summer and you want to do like a 2-month stint. And students are still doing mathematics, but they're not doing the same thing that they've done before. This is a great chance to switch things up, try something different, and also increase their abilities to look at word problems and to think about mathematics in a new way. So we have a link for $25 off one of our classes, as well as a guide that you can sign up for. And then also have just kind of maybe a simpler outline as well, if you just want to check that out. You can check out our blog post on math competitions and the impact it has. And people who are really, really excited in STEM and they join these math competitions, they often find themselves going to research, going into academics, even using mathematics in their everyday professions. So it is something that's a great bridge for students who are oriented in this way. So it definitely is for students who have that interest. Otherwise, just, maybe 1 or 2 classes just to try it out. But like everybody else has said, find out what your students really enjoy doing and really help them to pursue this. And this is one of those ways I really feel like you could get the STEM kids out there doing something that they love doing.
I love that because I feel like math can kind of be something that's very solitary, if that makes sense. Like it can be something you're doing just with yourself, but being able to open up opportunities for socialization and competition and be able to have recognition for capability in math, I think really will help to nurture that skill in kids. So we actually are going to share a pre-recorded clip from one of our panelists. She is all the way in Bangkok, so she's not able to join live. So I'm going to go ahead and share the video from her.
Hi, I'm Abby Allen. I own Adventurous Animals, where I make lots of art and art-inspired resources for kids. So extracurricular is so in my wheelhouse. I was a homeschooler growing up. I did homeschool all the way till I graduated high school. So we did a lot of extracurriculars, and that is how we had socialization. That's how we were able to experience different things. I'll tell you two stories. I have so many stories, but two things that really helped that we did as a family. One, I was very into art. I loved drawing. I drew all the time, always had a sketch pad with me. And so my parents got me into a art class. It was just like a few weeks at a time. It wasn't anything super intense, but we did like acrylic painting, watercolor, and one other one that I don't remember. I just remember the acrylic painting and the watercolor were a really big deal for me. So we weren't able to do this a lot because my parents didn't have the funds for it. And if my mom always says that if she was able to homeschool in 2024, she would be doing online classes so fast. So if you're interested in some online art classes, I have them made. You can check that out because sometimes extracurriculars in person just don't work out if you want something specific. The other thing that we did, though, this is more if you have older children, I started getting into fashion design. I would create different outfits and different outfits depending on like the runway of the year. So I would kind of like track the fashion trends and everything. And I was very into that. So my parents helped me when I was 16. I was not in college yet. They actually helped me take a fashion design course. And again, this one we did remotely. I think this was another online class or something like that. And then they actually got me involved in a fashion show. And I was able to help. I was able to dress models and design the whole thing and really experience and explore this desire that I had to be a fashion designer. And then the funny thing is, once I went through all of that process and had like a mini internship, I realized I hated it. I didn't want to do it. And I ended up going into elementary education instead, which is why I am the art teacher that I am today. So those are my tips for extracurriculars. Follow your kids' dreams and goals and ambitions, even if it seems far-fetched. Let them try stuff, and then do online classes. It is a great resource that we have in 2024.
I've got a lot of background noise here, so I'm going to have to hop off. Thank you guys so much for your really great